In this lesson, you will learn the basics of adding, editing, and animating text layers in After Effects. To add text in After Effects, if you're working down in the timeline, you can just right-click, go to New, Text. You can also go to the top menu, Layer, New, Text, or the easy way, just click on the T in the top toolbar. You'll see your cursor gets this little crossbeam, then just click and start typing. This is known as point text, when you just click and start typing, which is the most common way that you're going to add text. But the type tool has a little secret feature. Instead of just clicking and start typing, you can actually drag out a text box. This is useful if you're doing something like designing a poster or a composition with heavy typography, as you can control the text with the bounding box. But in most cases, you're probably just going to add point text by clicking, then typing in your text. In newer versions of After Effects, when you add text or when you select text layers or shape layers in the Layers panel, you will see a Properties panel automatically open. If you do not see the Properties panel, just like any other panel in After Effects, go to the Window menu and there you will see it. Just make sure it has a check mark next to it. The Properties panel also has some additional controls up here. If you really don't like the Properties panel, you can toggle it off so it doesn't automatically open. And there's also a button next to it if you want to toggle on and off the Properties panel. And if you don't want to use the Properties panel for text, there is a Character panel and Paragraph panel still available, and you can find those in the Window menu. To edit text, you can just double-click right on the text. It'll highlight the text. I can tap the right arrow key to put the cursor at the end, tap the space bar, and I can just start typing. To change the font, the size, the color, all of the formatting for your text, just select the text layer, go to the Properties panel. I'm going to go to the Text section. I'll click. I'll see a list of all my fonts, and the font menu does sync with your Adobe fonts, which is very convenient. I'm just going to start typing out a font that I'm looking for, Landrina Solid Black. I'm going to increase the font size by going to this first option. My cursor turns into a double arrow, so I can just scrub to the right and increase the size. Let's center this text. So I'm going to go down to the Paragraph panel. First, I'm going to click Center Text. Then I'm going to open the Align panel. If you don't see the Align panel, Window, Align. I'll click this first one to align it horizontally, and I'll click this one to align it vertically to the composition. I'm also going to center the anchor point, so press Command or Control, double click on the Pan Behind tool. Now the anchor point's in the center. You can also change the fill and stroke colors in the Properties panel. So you see here there's a little check mark next to fill, there's no check mark next to stroke, and that little red diagonal line indicates that the stroke is turned off. So if you want to change the fill color, you can just click, you can select a new color, you can also use the eyedropper tool and pick a color on your screen, and you can also enter in a hex code, click OK, and you'll also see a little eyedropper tool next to both the fill and stroke. If you want to add stroke, just tick the box, pick a new color. There's also a drop-down menu to select a stroke weight. And if you want text without a fill color but just the stroke, we'll just untick the box for fill color. And now you've got yourself outlined text. I'm going to tick the box for fill, uncheck stroke, and you'll also see there's a button that says More for even additional text and formatting options. And if you look at the top of the Layers panel, you will see the Layers Transform properties, which is pretty cool. If I twirl open the layer, twirl open Transform, if I make changes to the Transform properties in the Properties panel, you will see they are updated in real time on the layer. And whenever you see a stopwatch in After Effects next to a property, that means that you can click the stopwatch to add keyframes and animate that property. So let's create a simple text animation using the Properties panel. So first, I'm going to select the text layer to show the Properties panel. Then I'm going to drag the CTI forward in time to the 1 second mark. I'll click on the stopwatch next to opacity. And if you look in the layers panel, now the opacity property is showing and a keyframe has been added at the 1 second mark. And the keyframe's value is at 100%. I'm also going to click the stopwatch for rotation. Now you can see the rotation property. A keyframe has been added, and I'll click to add scale. I'll drag the CTI to the beginning of the timeline. I'll change the values of the properties to how I want the text to look at the beginning of the animation. For opacity, I'm going to change from 100 down to 0 so the text fades on. And once I change the value, you will see that a second keyframe was automatically added. I'll do the same for rotation. I'm just going to click. I'm going to enter in -10 degrees. Click away. You'll see a keyframe was added. And lastly, for scale, I'm just going to click. Because the values are linked, I only have to enter in one. I'll type 50. Click off. Now you see they both change. A keyframe has been added. I'll tap the spacebar to preview the animation. Cool. To change the timing or speed of an animation, select the keyframes, move the keyframes closer together to speed up the animation, move the keyframes further apart to slow down the animation. I prefer it a little faster, so I'll select the keyframes, move them closer together, tap the spacebar to preview. Nice. Let's make this animation even better. To add a little smoothness to the motion, select the keyframes. Notice they're the diamond-shaped linear keyframes. You're going to tap F9. So F9 will easy ease the keyframes. They turn into that hourglass shape. And if you forget F9, you can just right-click on keyframe, go to Keyframe Assistant. There you'll find Easy Ease. In addition to Easy Ease, we can also add motion blur. To add motion blur, you need to first enable motion blur for all of the layers. So you click this button here. As long as you see it's highlighted, now you can add motion blur to individual layers. And there's the same icon there for motion blur. You just tick the box to add motion blur for the layer. And if you do not see these switches here, right-click on the header, go to Columns, and make sure Switches is checked. And also, if you look at the bottom, there's a Toggle Switches and Modes button. You click that. Now I don't see the switches. Click it again. Now I do see the switches where I can tick Motion Blur. And as I drag the CTI slowly, you should be able to see that subtle blur. This is very similar to how your eyes would see movement in real life, so it really adds a nice touch to your animations. Tap the spacebar, and just like that, we have ourselves a simple text animation. Text layers also have a source text property, so you can animate the text that you see over time. I'll click the stopwatch to add a keyframe for source text. I'll drag the CTI forward in time. Now I'm going to double click on the text layer, and I'm going to type in a new word. I'll move the CTI to the first keyframe. Source text is Mike. When it reaches the second keyframe, it switches to the new source text. Pretty cool, huh? One thing you may have noticed about the source text keyframes is that they are square. These square keyframes are called hold or toggle hold keyframes, and they are the only type of keyframes that are used on the source text property. Unlike linear and Bezier keyframes, After Effects does not interpolate the difference of values between the two hold keyframes. So when the CTI reaches the first hold keyframe, it's going to read the value, and it's going to hold on that first keyframe's value until it reaches the next keyframe. Then it's going to read that value, change, and it's going to hold on that value until it reaches another keyframe. And the way you change the type of keyframes in After Effects is you select the keyframe, right-click, and go to Keyframe Interpolation. And where it says Temporal Interpolation, you will see for the source text property, the only option is Hold. But if I tap U to reveal the other keyframes, if I select these Transform property keyframes, and go to keyframe interpolation, you can see I can choose all of the different types of keyframes. As you get more advanced and comfortable in After Effects, one cool thing that you can do with text layers, if you right-click, go to Create, you can create shapes or masks from a text layer. Both shape layers and masks unlock a whole bunch of different options in After Effects. So now you understand the basics of adding, editing, and animating text layers in After Effects. Well, in the next lesson, you're going to learn about text animators, which is a really powerful way to animate text.